G'day from Australia. This sun-kissed land of kangaroos and koalas, known for its laid-back lifestyle and stunning natural beauty. But something sinister is brewing beneath the surface. Australia is grappling with a surge in gun violence. It's a problem that has been creeping up for years, and now it's impossible to ignore. Remember the Port Arthur massacre of 1996? It shocked the nation. It led to sweeping gun law reforms. The government banned semi-automatic and automatic weapons and implemented a mandatory buyback program. It seemed like Australia had effectively tackled gun violence. But, as we're seeing, the story doesn't end there. The statistics paint a grim picture. Gun-related homicides are on the rise. So are armed robberies and gang-related shootings. Australians are feeling increasingly unsafe in their own communities. The question is, why? What's driving this resurgence in gun crime? It's a complex issue with no easy answers. But one thing's for certain, the old solutions aren't enough anymore. We need to take a hard look at the new challenges facing us. We need to figure out how to keep guns out of the wrong hands. The future of Australia depends on it. One word, the internet. It's changed everything, including how criminals get their hands on firearms. Forget back alley deals. Now it's all about the dark web, a hidden corner of the internet where anonymity thrives. It's a marketplace for drugs, weapons, you name it. And it's alarmingly easy to access. Social media plays a role too. It's become a breeding ground for gangs to recruit, to show off their arsenals, to intimidate rivals. It's all part of a dangerous online culture, one that glorifies violence and guns. Then there's the issue of illegal gun trafficking. Guns are smuggled across borders, hidden in shipping containers. It's a lucrative business. And criminals are finding increasingly innovative ways to stay one step ahead of law enforcement. The digital age has made it easier than ever for guns to fall into the wrong hands. It's a sobering thought. It's a challenge that Australia, and indeed the world, needs to address head-on. The consequences of this surge in gun violence are real. They're terrifying. Innocent people are caught in the crossfire. Families are torn apart. Communities are living in fear. The streets don't feel as safe anymore. The Australian public is understandably concerned. They want action. They want to feel safe again. They're looking to their leaders for reassurance, for solutions. But the response has been mixed. Some politicians acknowledge the problem. They're calling for stricter gun control measures. Others seem hesitant. They're reluctant to tamper with Australia's gun culture. They argue that the focus should be on tackling crime in general, not just gun crime. It's a debate that's dividing the nation. But one thing's clear, something needs to change. Section 4. Political impasse, the reluctance to act. The political landscape surrounding gun control in Australia is complicated. On one hand, there's a legacy of strong gun control measures. The National Firearms Agreement, introduced after Port Arthur, is seen by many as a shining example. But there's also a powerful gun lobby. They argue passionately for gun rights. They resist any attempts to tighten restrictions. They claim that stricter laws would only punish law-abiding citizens, that it wouldn't stop criminals who obtain guns illegally anyway. This political deadlock has made it difficult to implement new gun control measures, even in the face of rising gun violence. There's a sense of inertia, a reluctance to tackle the issue head-on. It's a frustrating situation, especially for those who are directly affected by gun violence. They feel let down by the system. They're demanding action, but whether their voices will be heard remains to be seen. Section 5. The Ghosts of Port Arthur, a legacy tested. The 1996 Port Arthur massacre. It's a dark stain on Australia's history. 35 people killed, 23 wounded, all by a lone gunman. It was a tragedy that shook the nation to its core. The public outcry was immediate. People demanded action, and the government listened. The National Firearms Agreement was born. Strict gun control laws were enacted. It was a watershed moment. Australia seemed to have learned its lesson. But now, over 2 decades later, the legacy of Port Arthur is being tested. Gun violence is on the rise again. The very thing those laws were designed to prevent is happening. It's a stark reminder that no law is perfect, that the fight against gun violence is a continuous one. The ghosts of Port Arthur loom large over this debate. They serve as a reminder of what's at stake, a reminder that inaction is not an option. Section 6.3, D-printing, a new dimension to an old problem. As if things weren't complicated enough, there's a new player on the field, 3D printing. This technology has the potential to revolutionize manufacturing, but it also presents a chilling new threat. 3D printed guns. These weapons are made of plastic. They're difficult to detect. They can be assembled at home, and the blueprints, they're readily available online. It's a nightmare scenario for law enforcement. The emergence of 3D printed guns has added a whole new layer of complexity to the gun control debate. Traditional methods of detection and control are no longer enough. We need to find new ways to stay ahead of this rapidly evolving technology. It's a daunting task, but it's one that we can't afford to ignore. The future of gun control may very well hinge on our ability to adapt to this new reality. Section 7. The future of firearms control, navigating a complex terrain. So, where does Australia go from here? How do we navigate this complex and ever-changing landscape? There are no easy answers, but one thing's for sure, the status quo is not sustainable. We need a multi-pronged approach. We need to strengthen our borders, crack down on illegal gun trafficking. We need to find ways to combat the influence of the dark web and social media. But most importantly, we need to have a conversation, a national conversation about gun control, a conversation that involves everyone, politicians, law enforcement, gun control advocates, and everyday Australians. It's time to move beyond the rhetoric, to confront this issue head-on, to find solutions that work. The future of Australia depends on it. It's a future that, right now, feels a little less certain, a little less safe.